We will be making Egyptian style goulash, which is a crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. This is one of my favorite dishes to make. I make it once a year. Well, once a year for the sake of my videos, but I make it all the time for my family and friends. And I'm super excited to be making it here for you guys today. So we are making Egyptian goulash. Let's go ahead and get started. Right behind me here, I have all the ingredients that I will be using. Of course, we will be using some phyllo dough sheets. Phyllo dough sheets is essentially the same exact ingredients used when making baklava, or as people here in the US call it, baklava. And of course, we have a whole lot of lahma that we will be using. This is 85% lean ground beef. We have a giant jar of clarified butter that I prepared a couple months ago, also known as samna in Arabic. Then we have a yellow onion, some garlic, and then simple seasonings, ground coriander and nutmeg. And then we will also be using some sea salt and black pepper. So this is a very simple dish to make that uses just a few simple ingredients, and it is incredibly delicious and a family and friends favorite. So let's go ahead and get started with this whole recipe video process. First thing that we are going to do is record all of the voiceover audio. So I have all my notes right over here. If you're wondering why it is such large print, it is because I am legally blind. I was diagnosed with Stargardt's disease, which is a form of macular degeneration. When I say I am legally blind, it does not mean I am fully blind. There is a difference. I still have some of my vision. However, the vision that I do have left is essentially very blurry. So I do things a little bit differently, such as when it comes to reading, I use large size font. To put this in perspective for you, this is your normal 8.5 by 11 size sheet of paper, and I used a 28-point font in order to be able to see and read what is on the sheet of paper in front of me. So let's go ahead and get started with recording all of my voiceover audio. Need to connect my camera here. I need to plug in two of these cords. One is to connect the camera to the monitor, and the other one is for the battery. Let me turn this off so we don't get any of that excess noise in the background. Let me unplug the refrigerator too, because when the motor kicks on, it gets so incredibly loud. Let's turn on some lights. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and record all of my voiceover audio. Then we can start preparing the onions and garlic, and then we can start cooking immediately after that. So let's do this. In Egyptian culture, goulash is a crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. Let me redo that second part again. Let me adjust my pauses and my tone slightly. Goulash is a crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. I paused again. I should not be pausing like that. Let me say it all at once. All right, let's try this again. Goulash is a crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. Much better. No pausing. Fry diced yellow onion in olive oil. Add minced garlic once the onions soften. Mix it well. And let it cook for a few minutes until the... Let's try it again. I don't know why I paused. I'm not supposed to be pausing here in between my words like that. Let's try this again. Oops, wrong button. And let it cook for a few minutes until the onions and garlic... Stumbling on my words. Can't be stumbling on my words. Let's try this again. All right, get rid of that clip. All right, take 3. And let it cook for a few minutes until the onions and garlic caramelize and become fragrant. Much better. Now add lahma. Break up the lahma. Then season it with ground coriander, ground nutmeg, sea salt, and black pepper. Cook the lahma just enough so that it lightly browns. Let me try that one again. Oops, wrong button. Cook the lahma just enough so that it lightly browns. Then remove it from the heat. Now melt semna in a small saucepot over low heat. Let me try that one again. Now melt semna in a small saucepot over... Now melt semna in a small saucepot over low heat. I stumbled a few times here and there, but I got it on that last one. It'll be okay. To a baking dish, brush melted semna across the bottom. Let's try it again. Brush melted semna across the bottom and sides. Layer 1 to 2 phyllo dough sheets at a time. Then brush melted. Let's try it again. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Then brush melted semna over it. Repeat this process until you layer half the phyllo dough sheets. Nope. I am stumbling way too much on my words. I need to get it together. Oh my goodness. All right. Take like, I don't know, 27. Repeat this process until you layer half the phyllo dough sheets, which is equal to about 17 to 20 sheets. The middle layer is lahma. And ensure to spread it down even. Get rid of that one. Let's try this again. And ensure to spread it down to a nice, even layer. Now repeat the process of layering the remaining half of phyllo dough sheets 1 to 2 sheets at a time and brushing melted semna over each layer. Let's try it again. Oh my goodness, this is not good. Now repeat the process of layering the remaining half of phyllo dough sheets 1 to 2 sheets at a time and brushing melted semna over each layer. Before brushing the top layer with melted semna, cut the goulash into squares or rectangles. Now combine eggs, with whole milk, and any of the leftover semna. Blend it smooth. And pour the egg wash over the goulash. Give the baking dish a gentle. Let's try that one again. I was about to say gentle mix when I wrote gentle shake, but I was about to say gentle mix, so I just froze on my own words. So let's try that one again. All right. Take 42. Give the baking dish a gentle shake. Here it is, fresh out of the oven. Trace over the cuts with the knife again. And it is ready to serve. Egyptian style goulash. All right, it only took like 4,000 attempts, but I got through all of the voiceover audio. Let's go ahead and turn that way. All right, let me adjust my camera as well, like so. All right, let's go on a little field trip to over here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, just let me grab my cutting board and knife. Right now, we're going to, let me turn off this camera as well, since we're not going to be recording with that for the time being. For now, we will be slicing and dicing the onions and garlic. Let me get everyone situated here. All right, that should be okay. So the onion, we're just going to finely dice it. And the garlic, we are going to mince. And then we will start cooking. For those of you just joining in, welcome to my kitchen. I am Mohammed the Egyptian Cook, and for today's live, we are making Egyptian style goulash. Egyptian style goulash is a crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. Let me peel this garlic up next, and then I'll clear off the cutting board. And then we will start slicing. All right, ladies and gentlemen, be right back. Just clearing off the cutting board. Let's start with the onion. Just running the knife through the pile, make it a little bit finer. And then we will move on to the garlic. So there you have it, 1 diced yellow onion. Give me 1 moment. This is just a cup of water. When slicing garlic, wet the blade and wet your fingers. This will help prevent any stickiness from the garlic. For every, like, based on the amount of garlic that you are mincing, like every like 2 to 3 garlic cloves, you will have to reapply some more water to your fingertips and the blade. We got 2 left, and then we will run the blade through the pile, and then we will start cooking. Final cut through the pile. And then I'm going to bring the countertop stove over and we will start cooking. Oops. All right, that's it for the garlic. Let me go wash my hands. There you have it. There's some minced garlic. Be right back. Countertop stove. Move this out of the way. Don't need this cup of water anymore. I need to grab a small towel. Oops. All right, I need to turn this camera back on and set it up because we can start recording with this one. So let me get situated here. Now I'm actually going to be moving you guys up onto the counter as well. So actually, let me clear some of this stuff out of the way. Set this to the side. All right, let me finish adjusting this camera and then I'll move you guys up onto the counter as well to give you a better point of view of what's happening in the pot. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you go, YouTube, and there you go, TikTok. All right, that should be okay for everybody to be able to see inside the pot. I have this on like about medium heat. It's olive oil. After about 30 seconds to 1 minute, we're going to go ahead and add the diced onions. About 20 more seconds, and we will go ahead and add these diced onions. We also, wooden spoon. Let me grab a plate for it. Do a quick test. We're good to go. Let's do this. All right, I'm going to get myself ready for the garlic as well. So we have the minced garlic right here. So I ran some water on the blade, and I'm simply just pushing the garlic onto the blade. It's ready. Oops. Let's first give this a mix, get the shot that we need. Let this cook for a few minutes. After a couple minutes of this cooking, then we're going to add the garlic in. Garlic is, or not the garlic, the onions are cooking. While I'm waiting on that, I'm going to get the lahma ready as well. I'm going to take it out of the packages. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the lahma is out of the packages. Let me give this another mix, and then we will add the minced garlic. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. That was minced garlic. Let me get these leftover pieces out of here. I'll set that cutting board, washing my hands, and I will be right back. All right, let's give this a mix. All right, now we're going to let this cook for a few minutes until the onions and garlic begin to caramelize and become fragrant. And once the onions and garlic begin to caramelize and become fragrant, we're going to add in the lahma. I'm using 85% lean ground beef. We're going to break it up. We're going to season it. Very simple seasonings: ground coriander, ground nutmeg, sea salt, and black pepper. Four simple seasonings. We're going to mix it all up, let it cook for a little bit until it lightly browns, and then we're going to remove it from the heat. And then once that happens, we're going to melt down some samna. Samna is Arabic for clarified butter. We're going to melt it down, and then we're going to start assembling the goulash. A few more minutes here for the veggies to caramelize and become fragrant. I'm going to grab a small bowl for the seasonings to be ready for that. Little bowl. I don't measure my seasonings, I just go for it. That's the ground coriander. After that will be the nutmeg, and then sea salt and black pepper. I just slightly turned up the heat on this. Another 2-ish minutes, we'll go ahead and we will add the lahma. Starting to get some color, which is good. I'm starting to smell the garlic, which is also good. right before we add the lahma, I will adjust the camera angle, the main camera. I'm going to keep you guys where you are, but I'm going to be adjusting my other main camera. All right, let me adjust the camera, and then we're going to come in with the lahma. Bringing this camera up on the counter as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. Be right back. Going to get rid of this and wash my hands. All right, let's do this. All right, up first is the ground coriander. I need to wash my hands again. Be right back. All right, let's try this again. Up first is the ground coriander. Then we got some ground nutmeg. Then we got sea salt. Then after that, we have the final seasoning, which is black pepper. Be right back. I'm just going to continue mixing this and breaking it up as I go. Then we're going to cook this just enough until it lightly browns, because it still has to bake in the oven. Another minute or so, and then we're going to remove this from the heat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so the lahma is all set for now. It is lightly browned. So we're removing it from the heat, and then we are going to move on to the next step, which will be melting some semna. Semna is Arabic for clarified butter, which I have behind you guys over here. This one. This one. I need to adjust this camera angle as well. Let's see. No, I'm at semna. And a small sauce pot over low heat. All right. All right, that should be okay, and you guys should be able to see everything okay. I need to grab a spoon as well. All right, for this next step, you do want it over low heat because you don't want the semna to cook. You just simply want to melt it. Oops. All right, let's do this. Actually, I need to grab another spoon instead. All right, we can turn off the heat on that. The semna is like 97% melted. The heat of it will we'll take care of the rest. Set this to the side in case we need more. I know this is plenty. Supposed to use, like if you use like a traditional stick of butter, it's 1 stick of butter for the size tray that we are making. All right. This I'm going to set on the stove behind me temporarily because I'm all set with the countertop stove. So put that to the side here. And then I need to put down my area really quick. And then I need to move this camera back over here and adjust my camera angle for this next part. I do have a recording line of something that I need to say about the phyllo dough. Oops. Just give me one moment while I make these adjustments. So for making Egyptian style goulash, we will need phyllo dough sheets. This is the same thing used for making baklava, or as it is called here in the US, baklava. Same exact thing, phyllo dough sheets. So here you go, TikTok. Here you go, YouTube. Let me adjust my camera. To assemble Egyptian style goulash. All right, let's see how that looked. You will need phyllo dough sheets. You will need phyllo dough sheets. Puzzle verification on TikTok. Oops, got it wrong. Let's try this again. All right, sorry about that, TikTok. We are back in action. Let's review that last clip or that last shot I just took. All right, very good. All right. Now I need a large baking dish. All right, I'm going to temporarily move you guys back over here, just temporarily. Just let me get myself set up here, and then I will most likely bring you guys back up based on how much counter space I end up using. So just give me a moment, please, while I get situated. Don't need these anymore. They can move out of the way. The seasonings I'm all set with as well. That can go to the side. The semna we may need. All right. So I'm going to keep this here. Actually, like this. Brush, brush, brush. All right. This should be a good angle like that. So I can adjust this camera down. need one of these for the butter. Also need this for the butter. Here. Actually, let me get this first shot that I need. Let's try this one again. Let me temporarily move this to the side. Brush. All right, start this corner. So start in the corner closest to me. All right, let's do this. Okay. Layer, okay. Repeat the process, okay. Middle layer. So right now, just brushing the melted semna, not all of it, just a layer onto the bottom of the baking dish. Actually, this can go on this side like this, like this. Now I'll put the phyllo dough sheets over here. garbage. This can go over here. All right, now I can bring you guys back up. Let's see how I can do this. Give me one moment. Let me adjust TikTok first. All right, so you can see the dish right here, phyllo dough's right here. Butter is kind of off camera, but that's okay. And then let me adjust YouTube now. Give me one moment. All right, you can see that. All right, here's the tray. Here's the phyllo dough. The semna is a little bit off camera, but that's okay. Actually, let me just these two like this. I'll put this one here. Actually, now I am just adjusting my main camera. Give me one moment, please, and thank you. Nope, still not a good angle. Oops. A little bit more. I think I almost got a good angle. I hope. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. All right, let's do this. right, so that is half of the phyllo dough sheets. I'm going to adjust my camera angle for this next part. Actually, I'm going to keep it as it is. Now we're going to come in with the lahma. I'm going to heat this up really quick to, because we don't want to add like any of that excess fat. We're going to eliminate all of that. Actually, it's still pretty liquidy, so just let me use a, this is still warm. Actually, I am going to change the camera angle for this next part. Right now I'm just simply adding the lahma, squeezing it before I add it, just to squeeze some of the excess juices out of there, the extra fat. This is 85% lean ground beef that I'm using. You could use a leaner ground beef, considering that you are using a lot of semna for this. Go ahead and spread this out. You want a nice even layer. can go to the side. We can get rid of this. Here's the other half of the Phyllo sheets. And then we can go ahead and continue the second half of this. All right, hopefully everybody can see everything okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. So this is the second half of the Phyllo dough sheets. Same process as what we did for the first half. I'm going to be layering it 1 to 2 sheets at a time. I layer the sheet and then brush melted semna on top, which is melted clarified butter. Semna is Arabic for clarified butter, which I have right here in the small sauce pot. Sauce pot. Can't even get like my words straight today. Even during all of my when I was recording my voiceover audio, I kept on stumbling on my words. All right, let's do this. going to wash my hands. Also going to preheat the oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, now that the final layer has been added, before you brush butter onto the final layer, cut it. Just makes it easier to cut this way. You definitely want to cut goulash before it bakes in the oven. And then once it comes out of the oven, you're going to go ahead and cut it again. You're going to trace over your original cuts. Let's move to the side. All right, so start. Mess on this side from the semna. All right, that should be okay. All right, let's do this. think that should be okay. I'm going to wash my hands. And then I need to adjust the camera for this next step. I also need to bring my, what's it called, blender over. Where am I? Remaining half, I did that before brushing. I just did that, so I'm on the next page. Now combine eggs. All right, don't need this plate anymore. Aside for now. So we still have another step before this can go into the oven. Let me temporarily move this to the side. I need to adjust my camera angle for this next shot. There. Give me one moment while I adjust this camera, please. All right, I need to bring out the eggs. This can move to the side. That beeping was the oven. This can go here for now. I also need the milk. All right, let's do this. That was the eggs. Up next is whole milk, about 2 cups, roughly, give or take, maybe 3, who knows, we'll see. That should be enough. It's roughly 2 to 3 cups. I hope. I'm not going to use all of this. Let me save some of it to the side. I need to adjust my camera for this next shot. I also have a recording line. Let's see, which comes first? Is it me blending or the recording line? Okay, I know what I'm okay. I need to adjust my camera because my recording line is first. So just give me a moment. I thought the blending was first, but it's my recording line, so. Let me get situated here. All right, I need to adjust slightly. I also need to plug in the blender. Move this to the side. All right, blender's plugged in. All right, I'm actually going to slightly, temporarily move you guys over here for this next shot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. Oh, that's too many eggs. Okay, khalas, give it back to the chicken. I already know people are going to complain that I use too many eggs. I honestly don't care. People will complain as they do. Let's review that one, see how it looks. That's too many eggs. Okay, Goulash, give it back to the chicken. I'm gonna try it again, even though that one was funny. Let me try it again. Because the challenge, I want to be done twisting the top on. I want to be done twisting it on by the time I get to, just before I get to me saying, okay, Goulash. So that way I can release my hand and do, and start yelling how I do. All right, let's try this again. Oh, that's way too many eggs. Okay, Goulash, give it back to the chicken. I think that one was better. Let's check it out. Oh, that's way too many eggs. Okay, Goulash, give it back to the chicken. All right, that was funny. I'm gonna do one more just for the hell of it, and I'll pick between number 2 and 3. All right, last one. Oh, that's way too many eggs. Okay, Goulash, give it back to the chicken. I think number 3 is the winner. I already know. Oh, that's way too many eggs. Okay, Goulash, give it back to the chicken. I'm done. Number 3 is the winner. All right. I'm done yelling just for now. Let me adjust my camera onto the for this next part. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I make myself laugh sometimes. It's okay. Laughing is a good thing. There we go. Let me adjust this down. That's simple. All right, let's move this back here where it stays. Let's bring the goulash back over, which is over here. Let's adjust this camera down onto it. I think that should be okay. Get this off the counter. So start over here, work my way down. Start at the corner closest to me. Just going to do like a little teeny tiny bit more milk. Just to kind of get this corner that I missed. I need to adjust the camera angle up on me because I do have a recording line. And bake this in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes or until the top layer becomes golden brown and crispy. It should be that simple, I hope. All right, let's do this. And bake this in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes or until the top layer becomes golden brown and crispy. I said it okay. Let's make sure it looks okay. And bake this in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes or until the top layer becomes golden brown and crispy. All right, let me move this to the side. Actually, going to run some water in here. This will help with cleaning. I'm going to bring you guys over this way. All right, and I also need to bring my other camera up. Here's how the goulash looks before it is going in the oven. I need to bring my camera up for this next shot. Definitely need to bring that oven rack up. Like that. Let me position the camera on it. And then we'll take the shot that we need. All right, it is currently 7:39, so 7:40. Here, let me move this camera out of the way. Let me put you guys over here. Oops. Tilt you guys a little bit back up. It is currently 7:40. I do need to get myself ready for when it comes out of the oven. It's easier for me to do that before the actual cooking or the baking starts. So actually, let me take this out. And let me get situated for my shot for when it does come out of the oven. This like this, this like this. All right, and this like that. All right, like this should be okay. All right, we're good to go. This can go back into the oven. And then we can clean up the kitchen while waiting. All right, it's now 7:41. So let me turn off this camera while we are waiting. All right. Let's go ahead and clean up the kitchen. Some nut can go back in the refrigerator. Actually, let's go on a little field trip. I'm going to lower this, tilt this slightly up, and I'm going to bring you guys over here. So at 8:06, 8:05, 8:06, that will be the 25-minute mark. Goulash baking in the oven. So we will check it out. The goal is for it to have that nice golden brown coloring on top, and for the top layer to become crispy and flaky. Actually going to just temporarily slide you guys forward here. This is for the leftover lahma. lahma will be repurposed for something else. Not for this live, but probably for tomorrow or the day after. Who knows? We'll see how things go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the dishes that need to be cleaned. I do need to cover this up. Let's bring you guys back over here. time right now is 7:58. And I had said earlier, 25-minute mark would be at, we put it in at 7:41. So the 25-minute mark would be at 8:05, 8:06, basically. 8:06 is the accurate read. So we still have about 6-7 minutes to spare right now. But we will go ahead and check out how the goulash looks. How can I do this? Starting to get some color on top. So let me actually adjust you guys up higher, like so. And bring you down like this. So this is 20 minutes of baking, like 19 or 20 minutes of baking. You can see it is starting to become golden, that golden coloring on top, which is a good thing. But you want it to be deeper in color, more of like a golden brown on color, because you want that top layer to really crisp up. The bottom layer will also crisp up as well. So the top and bottom layers will be crispy, then everything in between will be soft and savory. So that's at the 20-minute cook time mark for the goulash. All right, let's bring you guys back down. Need to fix my socks. All right, so kitchen's all cleaned up for the most part. Today's recipe was not too disastrous as it usually is. Most of my recipe videos, there's like tons of pots and pans just all over the place, and kitchen utensils and plates and cups and just everything is the disaster usually in the kitchen. Today, not so bad because we are making Egyptian style goulash, which is one of my most favorite Egyptian foods to make. It's probably my top three that I enjoy. Number one, without question for me, is molokhia, which I am planning to make soon, using fresh molokhia. And this, I don't even know what it's called in Arabic or in English. Using this blade to mince the fresh molokhia leaves. So I'm super excited for that recipe video. It will be coming soon. But when the time comes, when I actually, when it comes time for that recipe video, I will figure out and learn what the name of this style of blade is. So traditionally it's only supposed to be one blade, but as you can see here, it's got two like side by side. So we'll see how it goes. But essentially when you mince the molokhia, so you hold on to it, both handles like this, and you seesaw back and forth to mince the fresh molokhia leaves. There's no food processor or any of that type of nonsense involved when it comes to mincing fresh molokhia. You're supposed to use this blade right here. So I'm super excited for that. Just can go back to the side over here. Still need to do my research to figure out the name for that blade. Let's check out the time here, 8:02. So we have about 4 minutes and counting left on the goulash. Well, that's at least for the 25-minute mark. It may need a little bit more because you do want to reach that golden brown coloring on top. And while we're waiting here, I'm also going to plug you guys in, so that way I do not get a low battery alert. So just give me one moment as I at least plug in YouTube. Oops. tube is plugged in. Very good. And let me tighten this screw so that way it does not fall. All right, so that's that. So right now we are currently waiting on the Egyptian goulash to finish baking in the oven. We just checked it out a few minutes ago to see how it looked. It did have some nice golden coloring on top, but it still needs a little bit more, and we're still waiting for at least the 25-minute mark. Let's take another quick look, see how we're looking. So the right side is definitely getting a little bit more browning the browning to start on the right side more than it is on the left side. But we are looking good in there so far. I am super excited for this. Goulash is one of my favorite Egyptian foods, that's for sure. It is very simple to make. It's very easy process. It's essentially goulash in Egyptian culture, at least, is a crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. In other cultures, there are other cultures that also have goulash as one of their dishes. However, based on the culture you are referring to, it is something completely different. For example, in the US, American goulash is essentially like a elbow macaroni with ground beef and tomato sauce. And then in Hungarian culture, goulash is essentially like a beef stew. So it depends on the culture that you are referring to, which differentiates what the goulash actually is. But for Egypt's sake, goulash is a crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. It's a very simple process to make. It is essentially dicing up some onion, mincing some garlic, frying it until it becomes until it gets some color, until it essentially caramelizes and becomes fragrant. Then you add in the lahma, which is Arabic for meat. In this case, you want to use ground beef. You could also use ground lamb or a mixture of the two. Cook it all together. Season it with ground coriander, a little bit of nutmeg, sea salt, and black pepper. Then once the lahma browns, you remove it from the heat. Then you melt samna. Samna is Arabic for clarified butter. It's also interchangeable for ghee as well. So you melt some samna in a small pot, just on really low heat, because you just simply want to melt it. You don't want to let it cook or brown or anything like that. Once it's melted, then you go ahead and you come in with your baking dish and the phyllo dough sheets. For those of you who do not know, phyllo dough sheets is essentially what is used for making balawa, or as it is called in the US, baklava. It's the same exact thing, which is this right here, phyllo dough sheets. Here you go, TikTok, and here you go, YouTube. So you layer it 1 to 2 sheets at a time, and then you brush a layer, you brush on the melted semna on top, and then you add another 1 or 2 sheets of phyllo dough sheet, of the phyllo dough sheets, I should say, and then you brush on more melted semna, and you continue that process until you reach halfway through the phyllo dough sheets. And for this package, in particular, it's average like 17 to 20 phyllo dough sheets that will reach the halfway mark. What I like about this one is that it's automatically split between 2 packages, so you don't necessarily have to count, but it is roughly 17 to 20 sheets, I believe. After you layer half of the phyllo dough sheets, then you come in with the lahma. That's the middle layer. You pile it in and then make a nice even layer. And then you repeat the process with the second half of the phyllo dough sheets. 1 to 2 sheets at a time. Brush on that melted semna, and then repeat the process until you reach the top. Once you reach the top, before you brush on the semna, you want to cut it into either rectangles or squares, like cut the tray of goulash. Then brush on the top layer, the semna on the top layer. Just cutting it beforehand makes it a little bit easier. Then you want to prepare the egg wash, which is essentially eggs, milk, and then any of the leftover semna. Whip it all together, or you could put it all in the blender, makes it easier. Whip it all together, and then you pour it on top of the tray of goulash. Then it bakes in the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes, or until the top layer becomes golden brown and crispy. And with that being said, I believe we are at that 25-minute mark. Yes, it is actually 2 minutes past that, so we're at the 27-minute mark. All right, it's starting to get a little bit more brown on top, which is good. I'm actually going to rotate the tray around because the right side seems to be browning quicker than the left side. Here, let me give you guys a quick look of how it looks so far. You want a little bit more coloring on top. So let's go ahead and rotate this around 180 degrees like so. And we'll let it bake for a little bit more. You want that top layer to really get that nice coloring, and so that way it ensures that it is nice and crispy, and also that bottom layer will be crispy. So top and bottom layers are nice and crispy, then everything in between will essentially be soft and savory. I'm telling you, if you have not tried Egyptian style goulash, I highly recommend not only you add it to your list, but you actually try it. It is delicious. If you make it for your friends or family, they will more than likely keep on asking you to make it again and again and again. So let's put the towel back over here. Let's put the lahma. This is leftover lahma from earlier. We're going to put this in the fridge for now. Going to repurpose it for something, probably make, you know, a small like dish of pasta or something. Maybe I'll make American goulash, who knows. But it will be something that I do off camera in the coming days. Other than that, let's go ahead and put some of these, oops. Going to put away this little sauce pot away. Oops. All right, it's 8:11. So right now marks the 30 minutes. We're almost there. Gonna give it like a few more minutes, maybe like 3 more minutes, and we should be good to go. And right before I take it out of the oven, I'm actually going to rotate you guys so that way you can have a point of view of what's going on the counter for these final steps. So let me go ahead and get my utensils ready that I'm going to need. I don't know which one I'm going to use between the little and the larger one, so we'll see when the time comes. Small plate for the utensils. I'm going to need the knife again because even though you cut the goulash before it bakes in the oven, when you add the egg wash to the phyllo dough sheets, keep in mind it is phyllo dough sheets. Some of them can essentially like reconnect back together. So you once it comes out of the oven, you do want to retrace over your original cuts with a knife before you serve it. So that's that. Do I need anything else? No, I think I should be okay. Actually, I need a plate that I'm going to put the piece that I cut in. That will be this right here. And then what recording lines do I have? I have just like my intro and my outro lines that I need to record. And then a plug for my website where I essentially say the full recipe, including ingredients and written instructions, is on my website, theegyptiancook.com, or should I say at the Egyptian Cook? No, it's on my website, theegyptiancook.com. Don't say at. The full recipe, including the ingredients, the full recipe, including ingredients and written instructions, is on my website, theegyptiancook.com. So I need to record that line. I also need to say the link is in my bio. And then I need to record my intro and outro line. Where am I looking? I essentially say, you have to try this Egyptian food. Let's make this Egyptian style goulash. So we are almost there. Oh, then I have to record my line saying Yallah Bismillah, and then we can eat. And I also need to take the pictures that I use for my thumbnail, both in horizontal and, I just did the hand gestures backward, both in horizontal and vertical aspect ratios for that will accommodate like both TikTok and YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and the works for all my social media platforms. So we are at the tail end of this recipe video. I'm super excited for this. Let's see here. All right. Let me get you guys situated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, any moment now, I will be taking the goulash out of the oven. Turn on this camera, my main camera. Camera is on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, in one more minute, we will go ahead and take the goulash out of the oven. Super excited for this. I hope you guys are too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. All right. Now I need to trace over the cuts, my original cuts. I also like to go around the edge of the actual baking dish. All right. Just adjusting my camera angle. I'm going to record my intro and outro using the entire tray, the whole tray of goulash. You have to try this Egyptian food. Let's make this Egyptian style goulash. Let me re-record that one. Get rid of that. All right. Let's try this again. You have to try this Egyptian food. Let's make this Egyptian style goulash. See how that looks? All right, the goulash is in focus. Very good. You have to try this Egyptian food. Let's make this Egyptian style goulash. Do it one more time. You have to try this Egyptian. You have to try this Egyptian food. Let's make this Egyptian style goulash. All right. Let me position this like this. All right, now I need to lower my camera. All right. I'm gonna go for this one right here. For this one right here is what I'm gonna go for. The first one is always a struggle because I don't want to completely demolish it as I'm taking the first one out. I failed. See, some of the bahma fell out. As I was trying to initially get it. Let's try this again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here you go TikTok, Egyptian style goulash. Here you go YouTube, Egyptian style goulash. The full recipe, including ingredients and written instruction, can be found on my website, theegyptiancook.com. The full recipe, including ingredients and written instructions, is on my website, theegyptiancook.com. The full recipe, including ingredients and written instructions, is on my website, theegyptiancook.com. The link is in my bio. All right, let's review these 2 shots, make sure we're good. Then we can say Yallah Bismillah and we can eat. The full recipe, including ingredients and written instructions, is on my website, theegyptiancook.com. The link is in my bio. Very good. The full recipe, including ingredients and written instructions, is on my website, theegyptiancook.com. The link is in my bio. Yalla bismillah. 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 Yalla. I need to hold it a little bit higher because the lahma kind of went out of focus. Yalla bismillah. Yalla bismillah. Yalla bismillah. Yalla bismillah. Yalla bismillah. Yalla bismillah. The full recipe. Okay, so that one's in focus. When I put the plate too close for whatever reason, the lahma does not get in focus. Yalla bismillah. 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 All right, ladies and gentlemen. Here you go, TikTok. One final look before I go radio silent and devour this. Here you go, YouTube. Here's your final look before I go radio silent and devour this. Egyptian style goulash. Crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. Mm-hmm. I'm going to wash my hands really quick. Be right back. round two. Let's do this. So this one is steaming hot in comparison to the other one. Oh my goodness. And the lahma is just falling out everywhere. Oh no. It's okay. I'm gonna go wash my hands again. Be right back. All right, so let me get these plates out of the way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let me bring you up here for these closing moments. Oven mitts, because that Pyrex dish is still really hot. Going to give you guys one final look. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is that final look. In today's live, we made Egyptian style goulash, which is essentially a crispy and savory phyllo meat pie. It's a very simple process to make. It's essentially frying some diced onions with minced garlic, and then you add in ground beef. Season it with ground coriander, ground nutmeg, sea salt, and black pepper. Cook it until the lahma browns, and then remove it from the heat. Then you melt some semna, which is clarified butter, over low heat, just enough for it to melt. Then you remove that from the heat, and then you take your phyllo dough sheets and you layer it 1 to 2 sheets at a time in the baking dish. Then after each layer of phyllo dough sheets, you brush on some of that melted clarified butter, aka semna in Arabic, and you repeat the process. So phyllo dough sheet, butter, phyllo dough sheet, butter, and so on and so forth until you reach half of the phyllo dough sheets. Then you add that middle layer of lahma, the ground beef, and then you continue the process of layering the phyllo dough sheets as you did before, 1 to 2 sheets at a time, and then you brush on semna over each layer until you reach the top layer. Then you cut it, and then you prepare the egg wash, which is essentially mixing eggs with milk and any of the leftover semna. Give it a nice whip or throw it all in the blender for a couple seconds. Then you pour it over the goulash. Then all of this goes into the oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 25 minutes. This took a little over 30 minutes in total. I think like 33, 34, 35 minutes in total, because you want to get that nice golden brown coloring on top. It will also make that top layer really nice and crispy, as well as that bottom layer. So top and bottom layers should be crispy. Everything in between should be nice, soft, and savory. Once it comes out of the oven, trace over your original cuts with the knife again, and then it is ready to serve. Serve it hot and fresh out of the oven. No utensils needed. Just use your hand when eating Egyptian style goulash. Once you try this, you will absolutely love it. Same goes for your family and friends. If you make this for your family and friends, this is your fair warning. They will ask for you to make it again. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Today's live. This concludes today's live where we made this Egyptian style goulash. The full recipe will post to my page. Well, the recipe is already up on my website, theegyptiancook.com. But the video that we worked on today will post to all of my social media platforms later on this week. For those of you who are YouTube members, are part of my paid membership on YouTube, you will have full access to this video by tomorrow, Monday. For everyone else who is not a paid member, you will have to wait until Thursday and Friday for this new video. Well, that does it for today's live. Thank you to everybody who joined in tonight. I appreciate each and every single one of you. If you're not already following me on TikTok, go ahead and hit that follow. If you're not subscribed to my YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube. And if you're not a paid member on my YouTube, click that join button. It is one of the best ways to support what I do here in my kitchen and in making tasty Egyptian foods like this, and also yelling at people. Thank you, everybody. My name is Mohammed. I am the Egyptian cook. You all have a wonderful night.